So, I mean, okay, obviously for this video, I wanted to do something slightly different because this is kind of going to be a 2-for-1 video, since technically the chapter 3 review isn't going to contain much of anything because, spoiler alert, Crowley and Aziraphale weren't in chapter 2, as I kind of hinted at last week and as I kind of knew was going to happen. So I did put out a request on my community page to see if anyone had any other ideas of things that I should talk about in this case. And thankfully someone did come through and did suggest a video that they wanted to see. But before I get into that, I just realized okay, so I'm officially almost at 1,000 subscribers. I'm trying really hard to be like a more proper YouTuber. So I guess that does mean I have to do the proper YouTuber intro and welcome you to my channel. I used to have an intro that I really, really loved, and I stopped doing it because I don't know, it just didn't seem to be anything. I don't know if anyone cared, but I kind of miss it. So if you'll indulge me, I'm going to go and do that again, and then we'll see, okay? Let me know what you think. Let me know your thoughts. I'm your host, not for possession, Narcissistic, and welcome to hell. And if you're new to my channel, first of all, thank you so much for subscribing and for finding me. I put out new videos every Tuesday. Tends to be, lately, it's Good Omens related. I actually just planned out my next 6 months worth of content, and spoiler alert, it's all going to be Good Omens related. So yeah, I mean, that's obviously why you clicked onto this video, I have to assume, because you love the show. So naturally, this is going to contain some spoilers for season 2. So if you are not a fan of spoilers, go ahead and click off this video. This one's not going to be for you. But if you have already seen the season or you just don't care about spoilers, then welcome. Let's get into it. Oh God, that was a little too beauty guru for me, which I kind of did try and be at one point. I mean, look at my makeup. It's clearly stunning. Where is my MAC campaign now? Gotta aim big. So this week's video is going to be talking about how Maggie and Nina are very much a mirror of Crowley and Aziraphale in this season. And I was thinking a lot about this, and I actually took quite a few copious notes. We'll see if I actually end up remembering to get to them, but I do have kind of a lot of thoughts on this topic because I was thinking about it. And one of the things that I thought about the most, right, is obviously, it kind of starts out with Aziraphale saying that the reason he wants to get Maggie and Nina together is because he already lied and told Heaven that that's what he was doing, and that's why there was that huge miracle. So it's kind of like this whole thing, he's already started this lie, he has to kind of keep it going, it's kind of spiraling out of his control. But I would argue the lengths that he goes to actually keep this lie going are a lot more extreme than I think are necessary. And even Crowley calls him out on this and is like, this seems like a lot. You know what I mean? You're going to a lot of lengths. And at a certain point, I have to assume the whole Jane Austen style ball was less to do with wanting to get them together and more I have an opportunity to dance with my demonic boyfriend here and I'm gonna fucking take it. I have to assume that's eventually what became Aziraphale's mindset because he's so clearly excited. And, there's a lot of speculation when you think about Nina and Maggie as being a mirror or a parallel of Crowley and Aziraphale's relationship. And a lot of people are trying to say, well, who is who? Is Nina because she's more hard-bitten and surly like Crowley? Clearly they're more similar. And Maggie is the sweet one who, believes in love and romance and all of that. So clearly she's more like Aziraphale. And I would argue that for the most part, I think that is true. I do think that there are some similarities that can be found between Nina and Aziraphale. Obviously, I think Nina's abusive relationship does mirror Aziraphale's own abusive relationship with Heaven. I don't know if he sees it that way, but that's clearly how we're meant to take that. So I do think there is some similarities there. I do feel as though Nina feeling like Maggie wouldn't be interested in her feels like that could actually go either way of who that's mirroring. Is that mirroring Crowley more and like his feelings about being a demon, and or does it mirror Aziraphale more and his feelings like, why would Crowley, who's too cool, be into me, type of thing. So it could go either way. But I do find that like the idea of them as a mirror is also like, a mirror is not an exact replica. Like a mirror version of yourself is not you. It's just kind of holding a mirror up to you and saying, hey, this is what you look like. Maybe you should step back and realize there's more to this. And I think it's more the situation that Nina and Maggie are holding a mirror up to Aziraphale and Crowley of what they feel for each other, rather than them being an exact mirror of the two of them. And I was also thinking about this too, because I mean, the amount of work, everyone's talked about this, the amount of not just work, but also like power that Aziraphale exudes doing everything that he does is actually kind of staggering. And it makes you wonder, has he done this before? Like, is there other humans that he's gotten really invested in? Because what is it specifically about these two women that he has just gone all in, and like even goes so far as to say that Nina and Maggie need them, they just don't know it yet. Like, that's, you really have to, I cannot overstate how funny I think it is that Aziraphale thinks and feels that these two humans, who relatively speaking, I mean, we've never seen them before in the past. I assume Maggie has been his tenant for at least a while, at least a good long while, but we've never seen them before. So one has to assume that they haven't really interacted all that much. And yet he instantly is like, okay, I'm taking this on because you're obsessed with her, and now this is my responsibility to take care of you. And I mean, it's sweet. Do not get me wrong. I think it's very, very sweet. I love the, solidarity of lesbians and gay men. I love to see that. I think that's very important. Obviously, I understand supernatural entities are not quite men, but you get my meaning. But it's just interesting to me because I cannot imagine any other time when Aziraphale would have been so invested in someone else's love life. Like, I think it's a funny idea that he just every so often plays matchmaker for humans. But I also think, like, again, you have, like, what he does for the ball and, like, changing up his bookshop. Like, he literally gives away books. And not only that, but I think it's very interesting that throughout this process of getting these other Wickbur Street Traders Association members, getting them to come to his little meeting is what he's calling it, he's not just kindly asking them like he knows he can. He's literally tempting them. He's using like demonic activity to get what he wants. Like, it's so evident that it's so much deeper than anything he wants to let on. Like, you are I think his name is Mutt, the one who owns Will Goldstone's magic shop. He literally tempts him with a book on card counting, maybe, or just being good at poker. He gets another one in by giving away his Doctor Who annual book, which I think is hilarious. Okay, so you're willing to tempt people, use your, you don't want to say boyfriend, whatever, but clearly the love of your life, and everyone knows it. Everyone can see it, including Nina and Maggie. So, like, you're using his own ability of tempting people to get people to come to your party that is actually an opportunity for you to dance with said demon, but don't acknowledge any of that. We have to pretend like this is all for Nina and Maggie. We're not going to acknowledge the elephant in the room, which is that, I mean, God, the look on Aziraphale's face when he asks him to dance and, like, drags him onto the dance floor, so excited, like, it really, truly boggles my mind how these two, like, are I think it's really, like, they know how they feel about each other, but they don't want to acknowledge it because it's, like, this unspoken thing. And so, I was thinking about this a lot, like, over the past weekend, or a few days really, since I suggested this. And it's so fascinating to me to think about, like, if we talk about them as a mirror and them as like a mirror to Crowley and Aziraphale, and just thinking about like what, there's so much there, I feel like. It's so fascinating. And then, of course, Nina's coffee shop being ultimately kind of the catalyst where, if that shop hadn't existed, that's where the Metatron goes to get the coffee that he gives to Aziraphale, which we kind of all agree. There's clearly something more there than meets the eye. I don't trust the Metatron as far as I can throw him, but that's a whole other thing. That probably could be its own video, to be honest. I do love that one of the notes that I put in there was that Aziraphale and Crowley clearly trying to get Nina and Maggie together is like, it's you trying to get you two together is what it feels like, especially when you say it's a mirror. And it is kind of interesting how, as much as Crowley thinks it's ridiculous, he is clearly invested enough and will go along with anything that Aziraphale wants to do, that he's like, yeah, okay, I'll make a rainstorm so I can get them together while you're in Edinburgh, because, like, what the fuck else am I gonna do, right? Like, it is kind of cute that, like, Crowley is pretty much, I mean, we all kind of say he's just whipped. He's very much that person who's like, look, I will do anything you say, so, like, whatever you want to do, babe. Like, it's very that. It's very like, whatever you say, sweetie, I will go along with it. Do I think it's a little bit strange? Sure, but I'm going to go along with it anyway because I love you, and that's just what you do. Like, it's very cute, to be honest, but it is very much like, you two are idiots. You're trying to get yourselves together, but you can't say that. So you just have to instead try and get these two random women together that you don't really know. These humans they've known maybe for the equivalent of like a week in angelic and demonic time. Like, I mean, if you've lived here 6,000 years, you've known these two for maybe at most with Maggie, maybe like a decade, but like not long enough that you'd be that attached. It's very strange and it's very funny. And I wish there was a little bit more that we got to see. I'm hoping Nina and Maggie will make a comeback in season 3. I really do. Actually, if I could say, like, I'm going to make a video eventually that's going to be like some of my predictions, like a bingo card for season 3. I know we're like such a long way away from season 3, but I do have some like semi predictions, but also things that I'd like to see. One of the things, of course, I'd love to see is I really want to see Nina and Maggie back, but I do also kind of want to see, Anathema and Newt back. I want to see them back. I kind of want to see like where everyone's at, because I feel like if you're doing the second coming, you almost have to include the Antichrist in there. And it's very clear that his story was left unresolved because he very clearly still has some of his powers. So I'd be very interested to know, like, there's something more there, I feel like. And I'd be very interested to know and see what was going on with him in the story. It's going to be very interesting to see how season 3 goes. And obviously, like I said, we've got quite a bit of ways before that. I mean, I think generously we're all kind of assuming it's probably going to be the same like 3-year timeline at least. Obviously, Amazon has not renewed the show technically yet. I mean, I know there's a possibility for a book. But I still think he should do both. I think Neil should do a book and then the show. But I think Amazon would be, like, stupid not to do it, but I also think they're stupid not to pay their writers, so Amazon will not be calling me for anything. I can pretty much guarantee that. But I'm just saying, like, I don't... And I feel like, look, I've gone on a rant about this whole writer's strike. I don't think you need me to say yet again why I think this is important and why I think paying your writers should be a no-brainer. Like, I don't know why this is even an argument. That's the thing. Like, I just feel like it's astounding to me that this is even up for debate, that there are even people who would say, yeah, no, they don't deserve the amount of money that they're asking for. Like, I don't know what to tell you, man. And if you do not have enough humanity in yourself as a fellow human being, not even, ignoring everything else, if you don't have enough humanity to say, you know what, I think you should be paid to do what it is you do. You know, this is a skill that not everyone can do. I don't care what anyone says. Not everyone can write, and not everyone should write. And we can have a discussion about whether or not, you know, everything's a reboot. So do we even need writers because it's just the same rehash shit? To be fair, that is less of a writing issue and more of a production issue because people don't want to take risks anymore. So rather than harassing writers and saying they're not needed because they're just rehashing the same shit, we should hold the producers accountable and the people making films accountable and tell them, look, I want to see original shit. Something like the creator of the Powerpuff Girls, I think, said they pitched like 16 different shows to networks that were original shows, and they didn't want any of them, but wanted to reboot the Powerpuff Girls for, what, the third time since the 1990s? Like, and don't get me wrong, love the Powerpuff Girls. Grew up on that show, loved it to death. But I don't think we need yet another reboot of this show that has not even been off the air maybe a half a decade. Like, come on now. You know, and if we're going to have the conversation, you know, we need to hold the people who actually make the shows and who sign the checks of what gets greenlit. You need to hold them accountable and say, you know what, maybe you need to consider shows that have a more original edge to them, something that's different. You know what I mean? And honestly, like, this is a whole other tangent. I've been on this before. I've talked about this before. You know where I stand on this issue by now. It's so astounding that this is even like an argument. I don't know. And look, I'll be honest with you. I'm thrilled about every union that's fucking striking right now, because you know what, we all need to be paid better. I'm sorry, like, I don't know what you think everyone does that you deserve to be paid more and they don't, but like, everyone deserves to be paid more. It's too fucking expensive to exist in the world right now. Something's gonna break, and I don't blame anyone who's striking right now. I really don't. Like, this is ridiculousness. The fact that there is nowhere in America where you can work a minimum wage job and have a studio apartment that you can afford is ridiculous, okay? It's not acceptable. It does not make sense. And that people think that somehow this is just okay and it's normal, and yeah, no, this is totally fine. Like, people shouldn't be striking. People should just do their job and get paid what they get paid. No, we all should be paid better. I'm sorry. Like, you should not have to struggle and have 3 fucking jobs just to afford your rent. That is literally insane. I don't care if that's how everyone's done it or tons of people do it all the time. Doesn't mean that it's acceptable. I'm hoping that networks will realize sooner rather than later what the cost of all of this is going to be, because it's going to it's for people who are paying attention, it's going to turn them off and make them be like, no, fuck this. I don't want to see this anymore. You know, I honestly, after fucking Bob Iger's comments, I really cannot watch anything Disney related anymore. I'm really just turned off by the whole thing. So, you know, I gotta say, you know, yes, I'm only one person, but it's gonna bite you in the ass, and I hope they realize that, because what you're losing trying to keep people from getting paid is so much more than what you would lose by just accepting shit. You know what I mean? And like, think about it this way. Who's gonna fucking be more popular than the network who accepts the terms first and now has people working again and shows going on again because they accepted the terms? So there's no reason for anyone to strike that network. Could you imagine? Like, if you, I don't know, to me, it feels like business 101 to be like, okay, every network is being stricken. Every network is having a strike right now because nobody wants to, you know, pay their writers. Nobody wants to pay their actors. But if you're the first network who says, all right, I'm going to do this, suddenly you're going to be making all the shows. Everyone's going to be watching you because you're going to be the only one who has a fucking show on. Like, that just feels like common sense to me. Like, why would you not do that? What is wrong with... Anyway, I guess that's why I'm not head of a network, because I'm too fucking smart. Who knew? So, yeah, my point still stands. You know, we've got a long way to season 3. I have a lot of content between now and that video. I'm obviously going to keep doing my Gay Omens book review series. I do plan actually to follow that up with a episode by episode TV rewatch where I watch all of the episodes and then recap them in the vein of Race Tracer with Willem in Alaska, or I'm 40% podcast with Jinx Monsoon and Nick Sahoya. So I'm planning to do that. I'm tentatively planning, don't tell her this, I'm tentatively planning to include my mother in this because I think it would be really fun to have her, you know, join me and talk about the show because she loves it as much as I do, and I think her input would be a lot of fun. And I also think when you do like a, you know, podcast style review, which is kind of what those things are, it's more fun when you have another person to like banter with. So that's going to be coming probably in November because I have content literally planned from now till, I mean, really I have from now to March, but as far as like pre-November, I have the rest of my reviews and I've got some other videos that are going to be scattered in there. So I do have a lot of content that I've planned. I'm so excited. I'm so excited for all of you to join me, and I hope that you will join me because I have been having so much fun, and I'm so excited. I love this fandom so much. I love how I think we embrace each other and how there is so much like in this fandom that really makes me happy. I wanted to make a separate video that's going to be just talking about like some of the catharsis that I've been able to have with this fandom, not even just from a former Catholic girl who has that kind of religious trauma and queer religious trauma, which I've discussed in other videos, but I've also had a lot of catharsis just from the aspect of reading a story in which, you know, or reading fanfic specifically, in which a character is fat, who gets to be fat and also still be considered attractive. I didn't realize how much I actually needed that. Somewhere in my head, I've kind of always, you know, I probably come off very confident, and I would argue I'm confident-ish, let's say, but with that sort of thing, you know, with my weight and something that I always felt very like out of my control, you know, I've definitely dealt with a lot of trauma regarding that. I've certainly dealt with a lot of harassment and abuse and fat phobia, just like any other fat person. So but I did take for granted how much that could really mean to me, to like read a story in which a character is bigger, and nobody really tries in fanfic to like make him seem smaller. Nobody in fanfic ever tries to make Aziraphale seem like skinny or waifish or anything like that, like they do with other characters. I feel like this is a character where everyone kind of accepts that he loves food and is bigger because of it, and it's never painted as a bad thing. It's never painted as a joke. It's more painted as something that's like, this is why we love him. And I didn't realize how much I actually needed that. Like, somewhere in my head, I just kind of always assumed that I didn't really care that much because I was used to it, because that is like, I mean, that's what you see all the time. I don't know anyone in any kind of fandom who doesn't see thin people everywhere. So you just kind of, I guess, I don't want to say tunnel vision, but you just kind of don't even notice it because thin is so much the default everywhere that it's just like, okay, yeah, whatever, another thin person. Like, I don't think that deeply into it personally because it's so like crammed into your head that this is just the default, that you're just like, okay, well, whatever. And so when you do see it as not being the default, and you do see it as like, oh shit, this is something that someone can actually be actively attracted to, it's very cathartic. And I didn't realize how much I needed that and how much that would become important to me. And now that I've seen it and now that I have it, it really stands out and it really means a lot. And so that's something I had thought about doing its own standalone video for. I think maybe this will be enough. I don't know if I have more to really say besides that I just find it very cathartic and I really appreciate it. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that I never realized that I needed. It's something I never realized that I needed, and it's something I never realized that I like even wanted. It just, I don't know. I don't know how to describe it, but it's very, very, now that I know, it's very, very important to me. This is, I just finished part 3. So I only have 3 more. I'm probably going to end up doing chapters 5 and 6 together, because that's going to be like, if everything is adding up correctly, chapter 5 and 6 would come out the 2 weeks before Halloween. And I really want to do, I was thinking originally about doing a separate Halloween video, but I think what I'm going to do for Halloween, since I believe Tuesday is the 31st, and Tuesday's when I put out my videos, I think what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to make that a book, or I'm going to make that a video where I just talk about the script book specifically, because I feel like I'm going to have a lot to say about that and a lot of thoughts about that. I've seen lots of different snippets from the script book, so I'm so excited to be talking about that, and I think that's going to be my Halloween video. I've debated off and on whether or not I want to make that a live video. My only issue with making it a live video, because I've done live videos in the past and I do enjoy going live, my biggest concern is, like, unless I read it in advance and react to it, you know, just write down notes and react to that, it would basically just be me, like, on a live video kind of reading and giggling and talking about things. I don't know how interesting that would be to watch, but if you guys would like to see me do a live video on Halloween that's maybe not related to the script book and maybe just answer questions or just talk, you know, whatever you want to do, I would love to do that. I haven't done a live video in a long time, so let me know what you think. If you enjoyed this video, of course, subscribe to this channel. Again, I post videos every Tuesday. They are gonna be Good Omens content for the foreseeable future, I can tell you that. So if you're enjoying that, feel free to keep joining me every week. If you're not enjoying that, I do apologize. I cannot promise you there's going to be anything not Good Omens related anytime soon. And of course, like this video, comment down below. Tell me any of your thoughts on the Nina Maggie situation and the mirror of it all. Tell me some of your thoughts on the subject of fandom and things that have made you feel very good in fandom and things that have made you feel very seen. I know that's not often, and I know it's not exclusively true for everyone, and that's unfortunate, and I really hate that. I always, you know, hope to be as inclusive as I can be when I'm writing fanfic, and certainly when I'm writing original fic as well, but I know that that's not always the case in fandom for a lot of people. Not everyone feels included and seen, and I know that can be very, very hard, so I do want to acknowledge that, because I do think that's very important. And until next time, stay devilish, and see you next Tuesday!